Namaste. How are you today? Good. In this semester, we have covered some of the important nritta items. Now, as you know, after the Alaripu and Jatishwaram, what comes is Shabdam. The Bharatanatyam Margam comprises the Pushpanjali or similar invocatory items, followed by Alaripu and Jatishwaram. In Alaripu, the dancers, Upangas and Major Anga have warmed up sufficiently to take on a tougher nritta passage in the form of Jatishwaram. Both are essentially nritta items which involve execution of jatis and korvais. At this juncture, a simple composition introduces the nritya for the first time in the margam. Nritya involves gestures combined with expressions, the poetry expressed through body language of the hastamudras and mukhabhinaya. Before performing the comprehensive and elaborate central piece of Bharatanatyam called Varnam, you know Varnam, right? The Shabdam is introduced to get the dancer and the audience ready for the complexities of nritta, nritya and to an amount of natya that comes in Varnam. So, Shabdam therefore acts as a bridge between the nritta items and the heavy abhinaya that is unfolded in the sahityam of Varnam, right? Thus, the Shabdam acts as a spacer, giving the dancer some rest after the energy consuming Jatishwaram and before she executes the endurance tasting Varnam. It also helps to get the dancer into an emotional state in preparation for the heavy demand of the same in Varnam. Okay? Fine. So, on the origins of Shabdam, Dr. V. Raghavan says in this article, Meratur Kasinath, composer of Shabdam of the 18th century AD. It was published in 1943 Journal of the Music Academy. Dr. Raghavan states that the Sahitya is always in praise of a deity or a patron who is a Zamindar or a king. This is about Shabdam. It goes on elaborating in epithets the qualities and acts and glories of the deity or patron and ends by exclaiming, "Salute to thee, Padmanabha Salamure, Padmanabha Swami at Tiruvananthapuram." So, this was an example. Many others explain and exclaim at the end, Parakku, which means attention, giving the picture of the deity or the patron eulogized as arriving or sitting in court or going in the procession. It is being announced by the bard. Shabda itself means in Sanskrit Yasho Giti, a song praising one's fame. The most renowned Shabdams of Kashinath appears to be his Gajendra Moksha Shabdam, which is otherwise called the Manduka or the Frog Shabdam. In the Tiruvarur manuscript, the Shabda contains a long sequence of rhythmic syllables in which the poet tries to capture the sound effects of the frogs croaking in the lotus pond where the Gajendra gets caught. This is extensively used now in Kuchipudi. Manduka Shabdam is a very popular item in Kuchipudi. In his opening paper titled Bharatanatyam, presented in the dance seminar held by the Sangeet Natak Academy in 1958. Dr. V. Raghavan says the third item called Shabda in the whole Margam occurs in the older text mentioned previously. It is called Shabda and Salamu and forms a telltale link between the Kathak and Bharatanatyam. Shabda as an old word in classical Sanskrit means the words of praise with which a deity, a hero or a king are greeted as they come in the procession or are seated in the court. The oldest form of this consists of laudatory epithets of the hero, followed by a poetic description of the qualities of the head and heart, and often a love theme also is introduced. All this was written in a telltale manner, and even the love piece is ended with a salutation. There have been long Shabda compositions of a narrative type, which were also separately danced and interpreted in gestures in other classical dances such as Kuchipudi. Rukmini Devi Arundale says in an article published in the Kalakshetra Quarterly, she says, I may also add that I used to kirtans like Ananda Natana Prakasha of Dikshitar and O Jagadamba for an invocatory dance taking often the place of the Shabdam, which contains very much the same kind of Shringar Bhava as is found in Padams and Javalis. I found the Shabdam, which is a well known dance item, musically uninteresting, and it depended much on the manodharma and the quality of the singer to make it good. Good singers for dance were also very difficult to find. The second opinion of Bala Saraswati, she says in her address at the Music Academy when she was honored with Sangeet Kalanidhi title, she says the traditional Bharatanatyam format is structured like a great temple. We enter through the Gopuram, the outer prakara that can be compared to Alaripu, cross the Ardha Mandapa or the midway hall, which is the Jatishwaram. Then the Mandapam or the great hall, which could be Shabdam, and enter the holy precincts of the Garbhagriha of the deity in the Varnam. So in the Shabdam, there are no Swara, Sahityas and multiple Sanchari Bhavas as interpreted in Varnam. In the earlier times, traditionally only 2 or 3 Sancharis were done. It is only now that the choreography has become more complicated with multiple Sancharis and even the stories woven into the Sahitya to make it more appealing. The Nritta here is kept very simple and the emphasis is more on Abhinaya. Hence, the Shabdam is the first piece in the Margam where Nritta takes a back seat and Abhinaya is brought to the fore. In this interpretative dance, the lines of Sahityam are usually separated by easy chord-wise. This item is usually in Mishra Chapu Talam for simple lilting gaits. During the chaining, the Shabdam is taught to the dancer and that is taught to you after a Jatishwaram. Now you have to learn how to coordinate hasta mudras, facial expressions and movements of the limbs to the world in the poetry. This on the master's level you have done early at undergraduate, but now you will have to start teaching. So, again to go back and revise what is necessarily the part of teaching Shabdam, we go over once more. Each word in the Sahitya line has a meaning or Padartha Bhava which has to be interpreted. Simple sancharis to elucide the padartha are employed. In the line Sarasi Jakshudu, which means lotus eyed, variations for lotus and for the eyes are taught. This is just an example. Depending on the ability of the student and the imagination of the teacher guru, several sancharis are possible. In traditional shabdams, the entire line is sung again and again without resorting to a renewal, etc. The pace of most shabdams is slow, hence it is called for greater skill to be able to sing with a lot of gamakas and adhere to the kala pramana. The lyrics are interspersed with sholakatus that are sung in the raga of the shabdam. The most common are tajhana jhana jhana, tadhimi dhimi dhimi, tadhunu dhunu dhunu, takita takanaka. Thus they are different unlike jatis recited in the Jatishwaram or Vardam. This makes the shabdam stand out and easily recognizable. Another distinguishing feature is that it has one consonant or vowel per akshara of the tala. So, takita takadimi nature 3 plus 4 of the song is evident from start to finish. There are no long pauses between the words and therefore, it is easy for the student to coordinate the Sahitya line with the music. This is an asymmetrical talam. So, there the students get used to a symmetric tal early in the training. Asymmetric means 3 and 4 or a chapu tal. Earlier to the Tanjore quartet, padams and shabdams were in all types of talas and ragas. It was the Tanjore quartet that set the trend for shabdam in Kambodi raga and Mishra Chapu talam. Kambodi was probably chosen because it is a rakti raga with infinite possibilities for improvisation. It could also be that being a desi rag, it had its roots in folk music which was easily understood by people. Later, Rag Malika Shabdams came into vogue. However, in all of them, Kambodi remains the first Rag. Hence, all Shabdams sound familiar at the beginning and are therefore very easily identifiable as such. The form and content over the years have undergone quite some transformations. The jatis for the Sholokatus are, however, very simple and very basic, helping the dancer conserve her energy for the very challenging varnam to follow. In the Padartha Bhava of the first line of the Shabdam, the gist of the Sahitya is conveyed. Thereafter, more details are incorporated, including more ideas serving as a description of the Sahitya line. Thus, the concept of Sanchari is introduced. Traditionally, the first Padartha Bhava is kept basic and is executed once to the right, repeated on the left and done once more at the center. Once the Sancharis are done in some Shabdam, Tattamettu 2 Sahitya is also performed. After the variations are done, the phrase Tai Ta Ta Tam appears at the end of every Sahitya line, leading to the small jati. The dancer strikes her feet to Mishra Chapu Talam and prepares for the simple jati that follows. Thus, the Shabdam has 4 lines or more interspersed with the jatis. Shabdams are usually in Tamil or Telugu. The Telugu Shabdams are dedicated to Lord Krishna, while most Tamil Shabdams are in praise of Lord Murugan or Nataraj. The Gurus of Rajarajeshwari Bharatanatyam Mandir have composed a Shabdam Dayaradhan in praise of Lord Rama in Tamil, and in Gujarati late Srimati Anjali made, choreographed and wrote a Shabdam beautifully Kanudo Kamangaro re o Beniato. The old traditional shabdams handed down from the gurus to the Shishya are either composed by the Tanjore quartet or old gurus. The ones composed by the Tanjore quartet are most popular. Sarasi Jakshulu in Rag Maliga, composed by them, describes the pranks of Krishna with the gopis questioning him about the appropriateness of his actions. After the Padartha Bhava, the gist of the episodes of Krishna hiding the clothes of the gopis and watching from atop the tree is enacted. Similarly, in the following line that gets Uttimidanu, the story of how the gopi milks the cow, hides the milk in an uruli high up, how Krishna tries to reach it and finally pierces the pot, drinking it all up is described. These descriptions make it more interesting to view. Gokulam Buddhi is also in praise of Lord Krishna and is composed by Tanjore quartet. Ayar Sheriar is another composition eulogizing Krishna, again by the Tanjore quartet. Thandai, composed by Shimaran Kol Shanmugam, sings the glory of young Muruga. Venu Ganane is a composition by the eminent Guru Valuvar Ramaya Pillai on Krishna. Tillai Ambalam, a shabdam by Tanjavur Arunachan Pillai, describes Lord Nataraja's dance in Tillai and the longings of the Naika for union with him. In addition to these traditional shabdams, present day composers have also made delightful new shabdams adhering to the guidelines provided by the earlier composers. Shabdam thus form a simple but beautiful line between the Jatishwaram and the Varnam in the Bharatanatyam Margam. So, now you understand that we have gone through the different opinions of people for what is Shabdam and how it is structured and what is its status in the Bharatanatyam item. So, in conclusion, we can say that Shabdam is a Bharatanatyam item in which the expressions or Abhinaya are introduced for the first time in the repertoire. But needless to say, the emphasis being on Abhinaya, Shabdam is not a Nritya piece. Needless to say, the emphasis being on Abhinaya, Shabdam is a Nritya piece. The song or the Sahityam is usually separated into stanzas, and between each stanza you will have a simple korvai, that is Nitya steps. These are Pallavi and Anupallavi. Each stanza can contain a different story or all of them put together in one single story. But essentially the whole item is about one person and one theme. This item is usually set to Mishra Chapu Tala of 7 matras, Takkita, Takkadimmi and Ragamaliga, different ragas or tunes for different stanzas. But normally it has Kambodi in the beginning, then it can have Simhendra Madhyam, Mohanam and such ragas. The movements here are leisurely. In the Shabdam, emotions are withheld at the beginning. Thereafter, when the dancer has clarified herself, they are released in a measured and disciplined manner. Shabdams are also referred as Yashogitams. They have also inherited an Islamic influence of repeating the Salamu or Namostute is at the end and Salamu with this influence also is at the end. Both are paying respects to the Almighty or the King at the end of the line, at the end of the whole item. This pleased the patrons and also of course the gods. Initially the Shabdams were composed and rendered in one rag, but now it is a common practice to use one rag or tune for each stanza and present the composition in Ragmalika as we said earlier. I can give you example of some of the well known shabdams that you will come across again and again, like Aya Sheriyar, Adum Mayildane, Vayu Maidane, Azishanti De, Ramar, Sarasi Jakshulu, Devi Taye, Shivan and such. It is also very common now to avoid the shabdam and add some other items instead of that, because with the trend of solo dancing, the whole margam needed to be put in maybe 1 hour format or less time. Certain items have privilege to be performed, and so shabdas are sometimes taken off in the solo concert, but its importance for learning is unending. Okay? So, now we shall go to shabda. As I said earlier also, in the present times, many dancers and performing artists do away with shabdam and concentrate on the varnam. Among the various reasons for this, the main perhaps seems to be time constraints for the solo full length performances.